Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Get on Top podcast. And today we are actually going to be diving into a topic that I have been hearing a lot about lately, which is procrastination. And if I sound a little hoarse this morning, I apologize. It is allergy season. If you are somewhere where, winter is starting to thaw out and if I sound a little hoarse this morning, that is simply because it is spring here now. And if you live in a climate where it was just winter for what felt like forever and now it's spring and you have allergies, then you know exactly how I'm feeling. So bear with me as we talk through a big topic today: procrastination. This is something that I myself have dealt with for a long, long time. If you're an ADHD girly like me, then you also probably have dealt with a lot of procrastination, and you might even call yourself and identify as a procrastinator. And today what I want to give you are some tools and some questions to reflect on to help you procrastinate less. So let's get into it. The first thing that most people don't think about when it comes to procrastination is the why behind it. And this is a step that I really highly suggest you don't skip if you really want to be able to overcome procrastination on a consistent basis. So we want to get into the nitty-gritty of what types of tasks do you procrastinate? Is there a theme to, time of the day or type of tasks that you tend to put off? Is there a theme in the types of activities that you choose to do instead? And I'll give some examples. For me, one of the tasks that I tend to choose to do instead of the thing that I should be doing is stuff that's really high dopamine. So reading, video games, watching TV, scrolling social media. I will be sitting on my couch and scrolling TikTok and thinking about the task that I quote, should be doing for who knows how long. And so that's just one example of what that looks like for me. And that might look completely different for you. And there's lots of reasons why people procrastinate, but it's really important for you specifically to figure out your personal reason. So another example in my own life is that my procrastination very often comes from a desire to do everything perfectly and to execute really, really well. And I care greatly about what I do. And so when I procrastinate on things that are work related, a lot of the time it has to do with that sort of overwhelm that creeps in when I think about, how many steps are required to do that task, to do it well. And so for me personally, again, something that I've done to overcome that a little bit is just commit to taking messy action. Just commit to starting. It's not going to be perfect ever. It's certainly not going to be perfect the first time I do it. So just committing myself to getting over the hump and just getting started. And, for you, you might find that another reason that you procrastinate is that overwhelm that I just mentioned, but in a different way. You might find that your procrastination stems from tasks that have way too many steps. It feels like you're trying to climb a mountain every time you think about doing that task. And it's really just the overwhelm involved with all of the work and the steps and the focus that's going to have to be required of you in order to execute on that task. Another example is fear of failure. You might find that your procrastination really stems from not wanting to fail. And so you don't even try. And these are just a couple of examples that are pretty common. If any of those resonate with you, I would definitely encourage you to sit on that and reflect on that a little bit and try to pinpoint some more specific examples in your own life, because that's information that's really going to help you when it comes to overcoming procrastination in general. Something else that I mentioned earlier, is the fact that I have ADHD. I'm pretty open about that. And if you are also someone with ADHD, you might find that procrastination happens simply because the task that you're avoiding is not something that you enjoy doing. And that happens to me all the time, especially with housework types of tasks, like laundry and dishes and things like that. That's super relatable. And if you don't have ADHD, it sounds so silly, right? It's I always find that people without ADHD kind of talk to me and look at me like, well, we all have things that like we don't want to do, but we just have to do them. And I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. Like, I hear you, but also like my brain really doesn't want to let me do those things. It really wants me to just skip it all together. And so you might find that that resonates for you too. And so what we're going to talk about next are some ways to motivate yourself to do whatever it is that you're avoiding. And the long of short and and the long and oh my goodness. And the long and short of it really boils down to connecting that task, that activity, to a larger motivation or larger goal. So, for example, if we're looking at housework types of tasks, laundry. So, I inherently don't enjoy doing laundry. It's not a favorite task of mine. I don't feel terribly accomplished when I get it done. But being able to connect doing laundry with something else that's important to me. For example, it's important to me to be able to feel good about the way that I look. It's important to me to show up in my business in a way where I feel really put together. In order to do that, I need clean clothes. So that is one example. Another example is like if you have a family, thinking about how important of a role that is if you're the primary laundry doer, like I am in our household. You know, I want to be able to keep up with the laundry because it's important to me that my family has clean clothes that they really love to wear. And that doesn't work for everybody's brains, but those are the examples that work for mine. So I encourage you to create your own motivators, create your own internal motivation that's important to you as it relates to the tasks that you're avoiding. If you're talking about, work tasks or business tasks, I think that it can be really easy to procrastinate and avoid kind of the small daily tasks that we all know we should be doing, like, outreach in marketing, whether that's DM messages or like networking events in person, creating social media content, keeping up with an email list, tracking your analytics and tracking like new leads and stuff that come in, right? It's easy to avoid those tasks because for most of us, they're not inherently fun. But that's kind of the whole thing, right? We have to create fun around those tasks and create our own motivation to do them. So, for example, you might find that when you sit down to, fill your spreadsheet with all of your information for your business from the week, you might find that you need to up the fun. What are we even saying? For example, let's say that it is the end of the week and you haven't tracked any of your leads for your business, and you know that you should, and yet you just can't get yourself to do it. That's an indication to me that that task needs to become more fun and you need to connect it to a bigger internal motivator. So to make it more fun, things that I might suggest include like putting on a fun playlist or even putting on like your favorite comfort show in the background. It might even be making yourself a fun little mocktail that you only get to have when you do that thing. It might even be hopping on like a co-working or like body doubling call with somebody and you both do it together, or you're working on your own things, but having the presence of someone else helps you stay accountable and makes it more fun. Those are just some examples of things that I do in my week that help me get like boring business tasks done. And then connecting it to a larger motivator would look something like this. I know that a task that I struggle with is tracking my leads. And that's why I've used that example so much in this episode. And in order to self-motivate, I'm going to need to connect that to something bigger. So there's a couple of different ways that I have reframed lead tracking for myself. One is if I'm not tracking my leads, I'm doing all of those people a disservice. I know that those are people that I thought that I could help, that I know I can help. And if I just abandon them and don't follow up with them and things like that, like not only am I not taking action to help support my business, I am not supporting those people. So that's just one example. Another example is I do have really big goals for my business and my life. And unfortunately, that requires doing the nitty gritty, boring, small daily tasks like lead tracking. And so reminding myself of my big why, my big vision, is a really, really helpful strategy when it comes to tasks like that. And reminding myself, okay, I don't inherently love lead tracking. However, tracking my leads is a non negotiable if I want to grow my business and grow my community. And so, again, all of the examples that I've shared today are from my personal experience. And so, what I want you to do with this episode is take in the examples that I gave and elaborate on them, expand on them, personalize them. Make sure that you are taking what you need, leaving what you don't, so that it works for you. And I'm certain that this is another topic that we'll dive into more in a future episode, and where I can give you some more tangible like action steps to help overcome procrastination in real time. But for today, this is where I want to wrap it up. And if you do have other questions about procrastination, by all means, feel free to send me a message. This is something that, again, I have a lifelong experience with, and for the last several years, I've really committed myself to overcoming it. So I'm always jazzed up to talk about people. I'm always jazzed up to talk to more people about this topic in general. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic day, and I will see you next time on Get on Top. That was a rough take.